Thank you, Mr. Chair. My pleasure to speak on this part one. And a wonderful part of the country, the Tasman District Council. I haven't spent a hang of a lot of time there, being based in Auckland, but based in Epsom, but I have had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time, and it's a wonderful part of the country. I just wanted to go through some of the preliminary provisions and the purposes of this Act being particularly to validate specific rates and set and assessed by the councils and the penalties associated with those rates, and to treat all the money received by the council in payment of the specified rates and penalties added to those rates in order to fix what was a mistake made when certain rates were incorrectly set during the 2003-2004 period through to 2008 and 2009. And because, Mr. Chair, as you would have heard in previous speeches, without validation, the Council does remain vulnerable to legal challenges from ratepayers for over the incorrectly set rate. And so this part here is focused on trying to fix that problem. And certainly in my experience in Epsom, as in most areas, is that rates are the subject that a lot of people get very concerned about, because they're not linked to necessarily an ability to pay. They're based on a capital value, and particularly older people on fixed income find it very difficult to cope with that. And so people have a very keen interest to make sure that the rates are as low as possible, but they also obviously have a very keen interest in the fact that they are done lawfully and properly. And unfortunately, in this instance, in the Tasman District Council, under the oversight of Damien O'Connor as the local MP, things didn't quite go right. And so this bill is aimed to try and sort that out. National wants to give affected residents the opportunity to engage, and is therefore supporting the bill, and we've made good progress. So I just wanted to go through the interpretation, because this really drills down to the meat and drink of this bill, and we're talking about the four in the interpretation. And in this Act, unless otherwise required, we're coming up with a definition for the 2003 rates. And let's look at 2003. Of course, that was really the start of the second term of the last Labor government, when they were basically maintaining a reasonably disciplined approach to spending, but were about to start to increase government spending, which was to lead to the very significant increase in government spending overall. And I accept I'm moving a bit away from this bill, but it was a period, I think, where New Zealand was doing extremely well, and we didn't really make the most of that opportunity, because the government just expanded its own spending rather than leaving money in the pockets of hard-working New Zealanders in order to grow their own businesses and make jobs. Now, if we move through to 2004 rates, which is the next line here, meaning the rates set out in the funding impact statement adopted by the Council in the 2004-2005 Act. Again, if we look at 2004, that definitely was one of the years that the locusts consumed, because New Zealand was doing very well, but in Auckland in particular, we saw house prices really start to rocket based on... Sorry, I moved back to 2004. If we go on to 2000, sorry, did you want me to start again? So if we go on to 2005, we'll be looking at the rate set during the funding impact statement adopted by Council in 2005-2006. And again, 2005 was where the Tasman District started to get into serious problems, because the rating information that they laid down was incorrect. And then further on, if we look at the 2006 rates, it means that the rates that were set in the funding impact statement adopted by the Council in 2006-2007 year. And the problem with that was, it was at that year that the purposes of the the targeted rates set by the council for the Liger Bay and Tarta Beach urban drainage areas, Mr. Chair.
Paul Goldsmith.
Mr. Chair, it was in this particular period that the technical mistakes were made, which are being fixed by Clause 9 that we dealt with in the previous section. But it was there that the technical mistakes were made and the rates were levied incorrectly that lead to this legislation, really, which is all about trying to get the right form of words and get it done officially so that the people of Tasman can move on and have some certainty around this area. And there are no particular winners out of this legislation because nobody's happy about having to do retrospective legislation in this way. But in the end, if the council is tied up in endless litigation, then that costs everybody. If, for some reason, the people whose rates were levied incorrectly don't pay their rates, well, that just means that everybody else in the districts has to pay those rates, and that's unfair to them. And so the correct thing is to say, well, if it weren't for the technical mistakes that were made, those rates would have been properly levied, and therefore this legislation really just recreates that situation. Now I'll just move on to 2007 and 2008. Those 2 years were also in error, and this bill is trying to correct those problems. It's interesting that this piece of legislation finds it does interpret council to mean the Tasman District Council, so that's a reminder of just specifically which council we're dealing with in this legislation. And the funding impact statement has the meaning given by Section 5 of the Local Government Rating Act. And these two places, Liger Bay and Tarta Beach, neither of which, sadly, that I've been to ever. I have been to Golden Bay, if that's in the same district. I think it is. But those two bays, Liger Bay and Tarta Beach, were the two particular areas that we're talking about, and that's what this part relates to. Overall, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say finally that that National's better local government reforms are aimed at helping make local government more efficient, responsive and well focused. Now, this legislation and this part aren't what you would describe as a critical part of that overall framework, but it is a bill that highlights to other councils the importance of proper scrutiny when setting rates, and on that basis, Mr. Speaker, I think I've said enough. So thank you very much.
Members, we come to the vote on Part 1. The question is, at Part 1 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Members, we now come to Part 2 and debate on clauses. We now come to debate on clauses 5 to 9. The question is, at Part 2 stand part. Call Maggie Barry.